The lush, untamed jungles of Vietnam. Always green, always alive. A place of beauty, home to thousands of species. You could wander for hours just getting lost in its breathtaking sights. But not today. Here the jungle is something else entirely. Hostile, unforgiving, and teeming with unseen threats. Death lurks in every shadow. Every rustling leaf could signal an ambush. And one wrong step might be your last. This isn't a place to admire, it's a battleground, and only one side will make it out. This place is hell, nothing else. There are a few games out there that try to deliver a message against war, brutality, and of course the wasted lives. The most well-known example is Spec Ops: The Line, a truly realistic and shocking experience. But for me there is another game that hits just as hard: Vietcong. One of the most brutal and punishing shooters I've ever played. The purpose of this game was probably never to be anti-war, but for me it delivered the same message. And playing Vietcong in 2025 with everything that's going around in the world hits even harder. Before we get into it, I want you to remember these words, because they will be important.
Don't mean nothing, man. Don't mean nothing.
Let me tell you my personal story with Vietcong. It was the spring of 2003 in Eastern Europe. Flowers are blooming, trees are growing new leaves, and even these concrete blocks somehow look beautiful. But I couldn't care less about any of that, because I'm sitting inside playing Medal of Honor all day. But the thing is, Medal of Honor came out a year ago, so I'm starting to get bored. I've also played Half-Life, Soldier of Fortune, and all the classics. So I feel like it's time to convince my dad to go game shopping. Here is how it went, usually. Dad, I need new games. Can we play them together? Sure. Okay, let's go. We'd head to the store, but it's all the usual suspects. Battlefield 1942, Unreal Tournament 2003, Red Faction 2, but then, like a divine light shining from the heavens, we spot this janky Eastern European masterpiece, Vietcong. The cover looked insanely cool. Fear is your worst enemy, written on the back. And the whole thing just screamed action-packed Vietnam War shooter. So my dad was all in. We bought it, excited as hell, and took it home. We waited 4 hours to install it on the Pentium 4 Beast. And finally, we hit play. I thought I was gonna play Vietcong like any other shooter. Run, gun, and blow up everything. Yeah, Vietcong isn't that kind of game. It's immersive, realistic, and most importantly, tactical. You have to pay attention during briefings, stay on the lookout for traps and ambushes, constantly find cover, and even give comments to your teammates. And the fact that I didn't even speak English back then didn't exactly help either. I remember we actually stopped playing after a while because we just got stuck. But, like always, I got ahead of myself. Let's rewind and start from the beginning. The game was developed by a small Czech studio called Pterodon, with some helps from Illusion Softworks. You know, that's the guys behind the entire Mafia series. Pterodon didn't have many other games before or after Vietcong, but shortly after Vietcong 2 was released, they joined forces with Illusion and eventually became 2K Czech. Now, I don't usually take the time to talk about game manuals, but I must mention Vietcong's handbook. It's honestly one of my favorite booklets. It looks amazing and also it's packed with useful information. You get to learn learn about enemy traps, signs, stashes, and even a quick army lingo tutorial. For me, this was huge, because I had no idea what things like POW, LZ, and all that military stuff means. Alright, enough talking, let's start a new game. God, even hearing the soundtrack gives me goosebumps. Throughout the game, we follow the journey of an intelligence sergeant named Steve Hawkins. I will spare you the inappropriate Stephen Hawking joke. He's the new recruit at the Nui Peg base, and Vietcong kicks off with him arriving there, but only after a sick monologue. And man, the whole thing got that unmatched vibe from some of the classic movies, like Full Metal Jacket or Good Morning Vietnam.
My name is Steve R. Hawkins, Intelligence Sergeant. When I first arrived in Vietnam, I got stuck in the rear for 3 boring weeks, serving as an instructor for the Vietnamese Special Forces at Nha Trang.
Once we reach the base, it's immediately clear that Vietcong is not your typical Call of Duty style shooter. Even the base feels more like an RPG. There are tons of NPCs to interact with, and each one of them has their own little life.
Xin chào những người lính Mỹ mới.
After we finish bothering the locals, we get an introduction from Captain Rosenfield, the leader of the base. He will walk us around and even show us our little man cave, this bunker. Yeah, it's not too fancy, but who cares? After he showed us the bunker, he starts his daily workout. Okay, I guess. This place will serve as a hub between missions. Inside the bunker, we can sleep or browse the journal, which is insanely detailed. I honestly love to go through Hawkins' notes between missions, and I swear it's the small things like this that make this game so special. There are also a ton of documents to check out. Information on teammates, firearms, Vietcong traps, and I could go on forever. And I'm not joking. There is stuff in here to read for days. I'm pretty sure no one is going to go through all of that, but still adds a lot to the immersion. After checking out the man cave, we move on to some basic weapon training, and it has some of the classic weapons like the Thompson, the Garand, and this is the place where I have to say my first and probably last negative thing about Vietcong, and that is the weapons. I don't know, but the models feel a bit low quality and the sound is just weak. I mean, listen. After the camp tour, we get our first mission. The task is simple: deliver some medicine to a nearby village. What could possibly go wrong, right?
Cẩn thận, chúng ta bị tấn công. Tất cả mọi người về nơi trú ẩn.
Of course. We get ambushed by a sniper. All we need to do is take him out, and we can return to camp. That's it. However, even though this is probably the shortest mission in the game, it's still a dramatic intro if you think about it. It shows that the world of Vietcong is brutal. The fact that we feel completely safe and then everything turns to hell in the matter of seconds is crazy. After the first mission, free lunch is over and we are thrown into the deep end. We get a quick briefing with some hilarious facial animations. Yeah, get used to that. This is a budget game after all. The mission is simple. We have to follow a Vietcong, or VC as everybody calls them, supply route and destroy any weapons or food caches that we find. After landing in this thick green jungle, I quickly realized that this is what Vietcong is all about. This right here is the essence of this game, where it's all going to happen. Even just trying to make your way through it and taking in this amazing atmosphere is something I've never experienced before, or ever since, to be honest. Monkey! Every step you take feels dangerous, and even the smallest noise will make your heart race, knowing an enemy can be hiding just around the corner. And I haven't even mentioned the deadly traps everywhere. Since this is our first real mission, let me introduce you to the team. We have Nut, the pointman. Please, refrain from the these nuts jokes. He's a Vietnamese guy who will lead the team during the missions. He knows all about the jungle, traps, and even noises. He should always go first. We have a radio guy, I forgot his name. Every time we encounter something, I mean practically anything, we need to call base and inform them about what happened. I know, this sounds a little tedious and feels like it breaks the pace, but it makes sense if you think about it. This is something you would do in real life.
Hotel 6, this is Spike 1. Over.
You did not have to redeem this, ma'am! You did not have to redeem this! Why did you do it?
Crocker, the medic, who will always give us a medkit. Brunson, the engineer, providing all the ammo we need. Yeah, I used his services a lot. And finally, Hornster, my favorite guy in the whole game. He always messes around with the others, has some hilarious punchlines, and just look at him. The textbook example of a macho American soldier. Love him.
Hornster, you seem to have something to add.
No, sir, just thinking what I should do today to survive the boredom.
We can also give commands to the team, but don't expect too much. These are really simple stuff like follow or hold position. Be careful with these though, because they can get stuck. I mean, it's a game from the early 2000s, so I think this is acceptable. Alright. Now that you know everyone, let's get back to the mission. After stepping in a trap and dying a couple dozen times, I realized I needed to take it slow. I switched to full sneaky mode, disarming traps and ambushing VC squads. And I have to say I felt pretty cool. I also love the fact that you can pick up enemy weapons. I mean, they usually suck. Except for the AK, that's a beast. And here is the funny thing, enemies can also drop intelligence items, which are completely useless and only exist because of immersion. Again, small details, love it. Eventually, we blow up a few enemy caches, engage multiple VC squads, and cross a massive section of jungle with some stunning scenery. Then, we encounter another VC squad by the river. For me, this was the highlight of the mission. Fighting through knee-deep water while trying to land those headshots is an insane experience. After crossing a waterfall, we stumble upon a village with some civilians and some texture glitches, but whatever. Turns out the VC is planning to attack the village. I'm not gonna lie, this is quite a challenging section, but we managed to push the VC back and get an extraction by a helicopter. Hawkins gets a medal, which we can see in the bunker from now on. Again, small details. The last mission was a huge success, and we even convinced some of the villagers to join us. But the captain's got a bad feeling. Seems like the VC are planning something.
They try another. Damn it, fuck.
Oh crap, he was right. The camp gets absolutely trashed, but thankfully the team manages to hold them off. We also find out how they infiltrated the base through a tunnel. Time to go down, and holy shit. After the endless jungle, descending into this tunnel is crazy. It's dark, claustrophobic, and the atmosphere is just depressing. And oh boy, this is just a glimpse of what's to come. Tunnels will play a huge role in this game. Anyway, we seal up the tunnel, clean up the base, and surprise, surprise, Hawkins gets another medal. I swear, they hand these out like candy. Next up, we get intel about some enemy tanks near the Cabana River. Captain calls them tin cans. Obviously, this is a big problem, so we need to destroy them ASAP. Due to the importance of the mission, 2 squads will be deployed at the same time. And here I was, facing an old enemy. Because this is the mission where I got stuck the first time I played. I don't exactly blame my past self, to be honest, because this mission is hard, and it starts with immediate stress. We need to cross a bridge over the river. And let's be real, crossing bridges in enemy territory is never easy. And as you would expect, we get ambushed in the middle. Classic. We fight off the VC, blow up their bunkers, and finally reach the tanks. But hold on, wait a minute. These things are old, rusty junk. God damn, what a waste of time. While we were busy with the tanks, the other squad went missing. After some jungle action, we find them, but they are not in a good shape. One guy's barely alive, 2 are missing, and the rest are dead. crap. Hawkins figures that the VC probably took the guys into their tunnels. So we have no choice but to follow the lead. We go in alone with only a silenced pistol, because using anything louder would be suicide. Okay, here we go. The first real tunnel. Turns out these guys built whole cities in these tunnels. This thing is endless. Dining rooms, bedrooms, kitchens, classrooms, anything you can imagine. Crazy. Lurking down here feels awful. And that's exactly how it should be. The devs completely nailed it with how claustrophobic and miserable these places are. You're paranoid every second, and fighting down here is a nightmare. It's also easy to get lost, and you're just counting down the seconds until you can see the sunlight again. In addition, being alone in Vietcong doesn't exactly feel great either. I always loved having my team around, doing some banter, giving me cover fire, and without them I felt even more vulnerable. After about 25 minutes, I'm not joking, we finally make it out and link up with a boat squad. We do some rail shooting on the river, which was interesting, but honestly, after all that time in those tunnels, I was just happy to be on a boat and feel the sun. Eventually, we get an extraction, but unfortunately, the missing soldiers are still out there somewhere. Guess what we're gonna do next? The missing soldiers are probably being held in a nearby village. So that's our next target. The plan is to sneak in during the night, rescue the soldiers, and slip out quietly. The landing zone is in a swamp, and once again, I can't praise the atmosphere enough. Wading through this thick, murky water while barely being able to see anything is honestly one of my favorite moments in the entire game. Eventually, we reach a hill overlooking the VC village, and yep, Fisher, one of the missing soldiers, is definitely down there. Time to go get him. Now, pulling this off in full stealth isn't exactly easy, but if you've got infinite patience and the hands of a surgeon, then it is possible. The problem is, the silenced pistol is not exactly the most accurate thing in the world, so I can only say good luck. Good night, buddy. Once we get to Fisher, Bronson creates the perfect distraction by blowing up a storage hut. We make it to the extraction point, hop on the chopper, and for once, everything actually goes to plan. Happy ending. Okay, not exactly, because I had a hard time getting my team to move to the helo. God, come on, move, move, move. The next one is kind of a filler mission, and honestly my least favorite in the entire game. We are back in the swamps, which do look nice, gotta give it that, but all we are doing here is patrolling the area, picking off a few scattered enemies, and waiting for extraction. That's it. Not exactly thrilling stuff. And for some reason, Captain puts on a goofy hat. You have an interesting taste, my friend. To make matters even worse, Hawkins apparently cannot swim. He just walks underwater.
I am under the water. Please help me.
Why? Why couldn't they just add a simple swimming animation? To top it off, my squad mates kept getting stuck or wandering off like lost children. Most of the times I wasn't even fighting the Vietcong, I was fighting the AI. Ugh, annoying. Let's move on. The next mission starts simple. Escort the doctor to a village so he can check on one of his patients. Easy. I wasn't expecting any driving sections in Vietcong, but hey, here we are. It's not terrible either. Well, I am a terrible driver, but that's a different story.
Box 1, this is 6. Good luck, guys. Hotel 6.
Please don't take my license. But of course, nothing stays easy for long in this game. Turns out, the VC just launched an attack on one of our outposts. And since we are close, guess who's gonna fight them back? Eventually, we ditch the car and go on foot, trying to circle around to ambush the enemy from behind. The combat here becomes a little more long range, which honestly was a nice change of pace. And for some reason, I really like the scenery. I know it looks kinda empty and janky, but I don't know, man. It feels nostalgic in a weird, low-budget way. At this point, I feel like I'm riding the Vietcong Rollercoaster because the next mission is once again awful. Forget what I said about the swamp level. This is hands down the worst mission in the game. The only objective is to defend a radio relay from waves of enemies. First, we are in a chopper. That part is fine and kinda fun, actually. But then, we get dumped on the ground and it quickly becomes a nightmare. We have to defend the same relay on foot, and let me tell you, most guns in Vietcong are not built for long-range combat. The only weapon that worked for me was this one. But of course, if you didn't pick it up before the mission, well, that's too bad. Have fun. The enemy waves just keep coming, and if they get too close, you need to switch to a different gun. Oh, and did I mention if any of your teammates die, the mission is over? Crappy filler mission. I hate it. The roller coaster continues, because next up is an awesome mission. We are gearing up for a full-on assault against the VC with multiple squads. Sounds epic, right? Well, not too fast, because our chopper gets shot down and yeah, just like that, plans quickly go out the window. We are stranded behind enemy lines, half the squad is dead, and now the only objective is to survive. We are back in the jungle, and as you have probably noticed by now, this is where Vietcong shines. We make our way to a hill crawling with VC, calling some airstrikes, and climb up using a tunnel. But of course, the ladder breaks and the team gets separated. Ugh, here we go again. The anxiety of being alone. Anyway, we have to press on to a nearby temple, and Hawkins absolutely wiped the floor with the VC. I gotta say, this place is a breath of fresh air. The first temple in the game, and it looks great. Backup finally arrives, but Hawkins wants to follow the VC into their tunnels. Hawkins, stop, okay, stop. I don't want more tunnels. But you know how it goes. Down the tunnels we go. And look, I know, you are already bored with the tunnels, so I will spare you the breakdown. All I'm gonna say is, I never wanna see a goddamn tunnel ever again. I spent so much time in this one. It's basically a maze, so make sure to remember the parts where you've been. Eventually, after long minutes of claustrophobia and suffering, Hawkins claws his way back out into the middle of the jungle. Oh, and it's dark now. Of course it is. Suddenly, Vietcong transforms into a horror game. We've got the same creepy ambient noises like distant footsteps, rustling leaves, but now everything is pitch black and we are alone. Just listen to this. I'm not ashamed to say that I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Super scary. But it also has a few beautiful moments, like crossing this lake on a makeshift bridge with the moonlight shining down. Stunning. Finally escaping that terrifying nighttime jungle was such a relief. As my radio crackled back to life, it felt like I could finally breathe again.
I'm at the pickup point. Over.
True 1, this is 6. We can hear you just fine. Shoot a flare to mark your location. Stay where you are. We'll get you out of there. Over.
A perfect ending to an absolutely intense mission. The next mission is once again next to a river. We end up finding our way through a village that's being shelled by mortars, and I died so many times here. For a while, I wasn't even sure what kept killing me. One second I'm fine, the next I'm just... This mission is nothing we haven't seen, but it's a well-paced, good classic Vietcong mission. After returning to base, Hawkins is finally ready to go on a little vacation. But of course, the VC have other plans. They are crossing the only bridge in the area, and Captain decides the best way to stop them is to blow up the bridge. The bombers, however, need some time to get there, so we need to hold the VC back from a helicopter. But when the bombers finally arrive...
Here we go. Enjoy the fireworks.
They missed the target. Unbelievable. Come on, who hired these guys? So Hawkins does what any reasonable soldier would do. No, he goes completely unhinged and decides to blow up the bridge manually. This guy has balls of steel, man. So time to slap some C4 on the bridge and boom! Fireworks. Unfortunately, blowing up the bridge didn't exactly slow them down. The VC managed to gather their forces and launch a full-scale attack on the camp. Our only hope is to hold out until morning, when HQ can send reinforcements. So, we dig in and fight through the night. But nothing works. They just keep coming, and eventually they roll in with tanks. Hawkins, once again completely out of his mind, rushes one of the tanks and blows it up. The remaining soldiers flee the camp and watch from the sidelines as reinforcements burn up the whole place. And, ladies and gentlemen, this was Vietcong. What a poetic ending. Now, you're probably thinking, what was the point of the whole game? There is no resolution, no happy ending. The war still goes on. So what the hell? And this is one of the things I love about this game. It's trying to show you the real face of war. Hawkins was just a small piece in a much bigger picture. And if you remember what I said at the beginning.
Looking out the door of that slick, past the gunner's leg at the outgoing tracer fire from his coax, down into the green jungle canopy whipping by just below us, was about the last thing I can remember about that camp. And you know what? Don't mean nothing, man. Don't mean nothing.
It don't mean nothing, man. It don't mean nothing. Hearing Hawkins say that after everything we've been through actually gave me goosebumps. It's a powerful message when you think about it. Nothing changed. It's still war. It's still a bloodbath. No matter how many medals we got, no matter how many VC we killed, it didn't make a difference. Hawkins went through hell, underground in those awful tunnels, in the dense jungles, in the air, and yet it didn't mean anything. It changed him, sure. It will leave scars, yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, it was all just dust. The camp is gone, the team is scattered, and we are right back to square one. Vietcong will always be one of my favorite games of all time. I've never played anything quite like it. And the fact that this came out in 2003, way before immersive realistic shooters were even a trend, that's wild. The amount of love and detail put into this game is unreal. Yeah, it has its flaws, some really annoying ones, but honestly, they feel minor compared to what the game says and does. If you haven't played Vietcong yet, I'm actually jealous. Experiencing this game for the first time is a legendary gaming moment. And hey, wait a second, here is the best part, it's free. It's an abandonware now, so you can get it for free. How cool is that? I will leave a link in the description. I won't say my usual final verdict here because, well, I think you already know what I think. All I say is, it don't mean nothing, man. It don't mean nothing. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.